Last rites of former Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh, who passed away on Thursday, will be conducted with state honours at 11:45 a.m. Indian Standard Time at the Nigambodh Ghat crematorium in National Capital on Saturday. The mortal remains of Dr. Singh was kept at the All India Congress Committee headquarters for the people and Congress workers to pay their last respects. Dr. Manmohan Singh, who was also known as the architect of India's economic liberalisation, passed away at the age of 92. He breathed his last at the AIIMS New Delhi emergency ward due to age-related illness. Dr. Manmohan Singh retired from the Rajya Sabha in April 2024. Despite his age-related illness, Dr. Singh attended some sessions of Parliament in a wheelchair, a rare display of dedication by the 92-year-old economic strategist. Here's a look at the life and times of late Dr. Manmohan Singh.
Manmohan Singh, a pioneering economic administrator, statesman, and India's third longest-serving Prime Minister, passed away at the age of 92. A towering figure in India's public life, his remarkable journey from humble beginnings to shaping the nation's economic and political landscape will be remembered for generations to come. Born on the 26th of September in the year 1932 in a village in Punjab province of undivided India, Singh excelled in studies despite limited resources. He won a place at Cambridge University before heading to Oxford, earning a doctorate with a thesis on the role of exports and free trade in India's economy. His book, India's Export Trends and Prospects for Self-Sustained Growth, was an early critique of India's inward-oriented trade policy. His academic credentials were burnished by his years on the faculty of Punjab University and the prestigious Delhi School of Economics. In the year 1971, Singh joined the Government of India as an economic advisor in the Commerce Ministry. This was soon followed by his appointment as the Chief Economic Advisor in the Ministry of Finance in 1972. Among the many governmental positions that Manmohan Singh occupied were the Secretary in the Ministry of Finance, Deputy Chairman of the Planning Commission, Governor of the Reserve Bank of India, Advisor of the Prime Minister, and Chairman of the University Grants Commission. He was nominated to the Rajya Sabha for the first time by the Congress Party in October 1991, 4 months after he became the Union Finance Minister. He represented Assam for 5 terms in the Rajya Sabha and shifted to Rajasthan in 2019. His last term that ended in April this year. He was the Prime Minister for 2 successive terms. One of the biggest highlights of Singh's regime was securing the India-US Civil Nuclear Agreement that opened up civilian nuclear cooperation. Manmohan Singh led the UPA government delivered about 8.5% GDP growth. The 2 UPA regimes led by Manmohan Singh are credited with the launch of social welfare initiatives such as guaranteed job schemes, Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee, and the right to education for every child. Dr. Manmohan Singh's years as Prime Minister were, however, marred with scams like 2G, CWG, and coal block allocations. Despite the leak hiccups, Singh's image as a clean leader remained untarnished. He will be remembered as the architect of India's tryst with economic liberalisation and sustained economic growth. Bureau Report, DD India.
Leaders from across the world continue to express grief over the demise of Dr. Manmohan Singh, recognizing his significant role in India's economic reforms and international relations. Right from Russian President Vladimir Putin to Prime Minister of Mauritius condoled the demise of Dr. Singh. DD India's Abhishek Bose brings us this report.
India's President Draupadi Murmu and Prime Minister Narendra Modi led the nation in bidding adieu to former Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh. PM Modi said India will always remember his contributions to the nation.
एक अर्थशास्त्री के रूप में उन्होंने अलग अलग स्तर पर भारत सरकार में अनेक सेवाएं दी। एक चुनौतीपूर्ण समय में उन्होंने रिजर्व बैंक के गवर्नर की भूमिका निभाई। पूर्व प्रधानमंत्री, भारत रत्न श्री पीवी नरसिम्हा राव जी की सरकार के वित्त मंत्री रहते हुए उन्होंने वित्तीय संकट से घिरे देश को एक नई अर्थव्यवस्था के मार्ग पर प्रशस्त किया। प्रधानमंत्री के रूप में देश के विकास में और प्रगति में उनके योगदान को हमेशा याद किया जाएगा।
The demise of Dr. Manmohan Singh, who was also a renowned economist, has drawn condolences and tributes from global leaders. French President Emmanuel Macron called Dr. Singh a great man who devoted his life to India. On social media platform X, Macron said, "India lost a great man and France a friend." The United States offered condolences on Dr. Manmohan Singh's demise. US Secretary of State Antony Blinken called Dr. Singh one of the greatest champions of the US-India strategic partnership. Notably, Dr. Manmohan Singh played a significant role in advancing the 2007 Civil Nuclear Cooperation Agreement between India and the US. China's foreign ministry expressed condolences over the passing of Dr. Manmohan Singh. China said Singh had made positive contributions to India-China relations. Former Canadian Prime Minister Stephen Harper joined the international chorus of condolences, praising Dr. Singh for his exceptional intelligence, integrity and wisdom. Former Maldivian President Abdullah Shahid shared his condolences. He recalled Dr. Singh's 2011 visit to the Maldives, where he became the first head of state to address the Maldivian parliament. Former Afghan President Hamid Karzai described Dr. Singh as one of India's most illustrious sons and an unwavering ally and friend to the people of Afghanistan. Former Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh will be remembered as a pivotal figure in India's economic transformation and a respected statesman on the international stage. Abhishek Bose for DD India.
And UN Chief General Antonio Guterres also condoled the demise of Dr. Manmohan Singh. Issuing a statement, he said that Mr. Singh played a pivotal role in India's recent history, particularly in shaping its economic trajectory. As Prime Minister from 2004 to 2014, Mr. Singh oversaw a period of significant economic growth and development in India. Under his leadership, India also strengthened its collaboration with the United Nations, contributing actively to global initiatives and partnerships. All right, we are joined by DD India's Anil Thomas, who is joining us outside the AICC headquarters, and also we are joined by Siddharth Bhardwaj, who is at the Nigambodh. I'll come to you, Anil, first. Several leaders had gathered at the AICC headquarters to pay tributes to former Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh, and now his mortal remains will reach at Nigambodh Ghat, and the funeral will take place at 11:45 a.m. People must be talking about his politics, his legacy at the Congress office.
Well, good afternoon, Abhishek. Well, that's been the talking point. And in India, we are so used to comparisons. There were even comparisons being made. But I think one thing that stands out, especially when it comes to the present Prime Minister of India, Narendra Modi, and the former Prime Minister, Dr. Manmohan Singh, they both came from humble backgrounds. They both had no political lineage to fall back on. And I think the humility that they both bring to the table is something that, can be a uniting force. And I think one particular point that stood out with every, leader that I spoke to from the Congress party was the liberalization, formula that he brought about, the end of license choice that he did, which were, the nuts and bolts, the highway that the Indian economy is hit today, the nuts and bolts or the bricks, the foundation of which was laid by the former Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh way back in 1991 as a finance minister, then as Prime Minister in 2004, the reforms that he brought about. Remember, he was very ambitious, but then he also understood what could be achieved politically. And I think that's where, with the decency with which he did these things, and the humility that he brought to the table left everyone happy, especially in the tough world of coalition politics that he managed to navigate for 10 good years.
All right, Siddharth is also with us. Siddharth, you are at Nigambodh Ghat. The funeral will take place at the scheduled time at 11:45, and several leaders must have started to come in. Who all have reached there, if you could tell us, and who all are expected to come?
Well, definitely, Abhishek, outside the Nigambodh Ghat, where the funeral will take place, and the mortal remains of former Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh will be, arriving really soon, and they can arrive here anytime now. And you can see the security deployment, heavy security deployment outside the Nigambodh Ghat, as the VVIPs have started arriving, and VIPs are also, here. The security arrangements are really tight. As you also mentioned. Regarding the security deployment and, Abhishek, can you hear me?
Yes, I can, Siddharth. Please go on.
Abhishek, I'm saying that there's a heavy security deployment outside the Nigambodh Ghat, where the VVIPs and VIPs, are arriving. And the mortal remains, I was just mentioning you that they can arrive anytime now. There's a heavy security deployment, and you can see behind me all the journalists, they have gathered here, but there's a restriction that beyond a point, journalists cannot go. So everything which is happening, the VVIPs and VIPs are, going inside. As you can see behind me, that's the main gate of the Nigambodh Ghat, where the mortal remains of former Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh will be arriving anytime soon. Such is the legacy of Dr. Manmohan Singh, that everyone, is coming here. As my colleague Anil was also mentioning, that in 1991, when he became the finance minister, he brought about some major economic reforms which were focused on liberalization and privatization. And apart from that, he's a key figure when it comes to economic reforms. He was a key figure, definitely, Abhishek, and and here at ground zero, where we are right now, you can clearly see that there's a heavy security deployment, and also traffic personnel are ensuring that there's a smooth flow of everything. They are ensuring that everything goes smooth and fine. And as and when the mortal remains of former Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh will arrive, definitely we'll let you know. But as of now, this is the situation at ground zero. Abhishek.
All right, Siddharth, thank you for the timing. But yes, we'll keep coming back to you. But Anil continues to stay with us. Anil, Dr. Singh was recognized as one of India's greatest economists. His contributions were profound and transformative. Do you want to mention about the landmark decisions that were taken, especially under his tenure as Prime Minister from 2004 to 2014?
Well, Abhishek, if you look at what Dr. Manmohan Singh brought to the table, when he talked about liberalization, privatization, but I think he also understood or championed the cause for globalization, the initial, I would say, the initial bricks of the journey that India continues to do today is thanks to the economic reforms that were brought in 1991, followed by the social benefits that were introduced under his tenure as Prime Minister in his tenure reign. Right to information, right to education, right to food security, land acquisition, you name it. Even in the digital era, if one may talk about Aadhaar, direct benefit transfer to the common man, all have many things. They were all started during that UPA regime. They were fine-tuned, made much better, made much robust in the last 10 years. But then, his work, especially when it comes to understanding what needs to be done. There is something called, he was imaginative, but he also understood the coalition of getting things done in politics. I think walking the tightrope, especially in the 10 years that he was the Prime Minister with so many coalition partners, and coalition dharma in Indian politics was not something that, every political party understood. So it is something that is pretty new. and to adopt it to a person who doesn't have a political backdrop. Why I would say so? Because he only fought elections once in 1999 when he lost from South Delhi, and beyond that he's never fought elections. So he didn't have a political landscape that he could fall back on when he was made the Prime Minister. But all in all, to navigate through those difficult times, especially holding his chin up, arriving at tough decisions. And I remember that briefing that he had, the briefing that he had where he said there are many things that cannot be brought out in the open due to cabinet decisions or cabinet ministers that are part of it. But all in all, he felt that as compared to the contemporary media, history would be kind to him, when one takes a look at his journey and the works that he has done. And I think the outpour of people that you see here at the AICC and also at Nigambodh Ghat clearly indicative that history really is kind to the person who helped India and the world, especially through tough times.
Thomas reporting from New Delhi. Now let's get the perspective now on Dr. Manmohan Singh's legacy. Shekhar Iyer joins us, senior journalist. Pleasure to have you on DD India, Shekhar. Shekharji, Dr. Manmohan Singh was a path-breaking reformer who ushered in the liberalization era in 1991, and also under his leadership several rights-based legislation were enacted by the government. Would you say that he was a man of many legacies?
Oh, definitely his tenure as the Prime Minister has seen some epoch-making decisions and launch of several programs. And particularly we remember him for piloting those liberalization initiatives of Narasimha Rao government as the Finance Minister. And those were the need of the time, and they were under the directions of the former Prime Minister Narasimha Rao. And Manmohan Singh had to take the brunt of criticism, both within his party and outside, when those liberalizations initiatives were introduced. Because they were the first generation of reforms which had to be brought in because of the kind of difficulties India was facing, both in terms of foreign exchange reserves. That was the time some gold was also pledged, if you remember. And those were very, very difficult times. But with the guidance of Prime Minister Narasimha Rao then, Manmohan Singh did the most difficult, I would say, the tightrope walking. And subsequently, when he was chosen as the Prime Minister of the United Progressive Alliance first government, he was tasked with the job of implementing the common minimum program, because that government was a Congress-led government supported by the left parties, and there was a common minimum program which was outlined, which had to be implemented. So in that program, all these right-based things were involved. So the first phase was, in fact, I would call it one of his best phases, because his task was putting into action a lot of concepts that came out from the common minimum program. So that's a very important thing he did. And then subsequently, the next 5 years, we saw there were a lot of decisions, a lot of initiatives, but those were also a period where he had to take flak for the conduct of his ministers, for some of the policy initiatives which did not move forward. He was often accused of being, presiding over a government that was paralyzed by contradictions and lack of policy movement. So his task was, quite a difficult task, both in as UPA 1 and UPA 2. But in all through this, nobody ever doubted his integrity. Nobody ever doubted his strength and character. That is why we saw Prime Minister Narendra Modi also in his tribute mentioned his contribution as an economic wizard, a person who had contributed at every level, because he had served in different capacities in the government. Whether he was Chief Economic Advisor, he was Planning Commission Deputy Chairman, and then Finance Minister under Narasimha Rao. So he had all through, withered several storms, political or otherwise, because he was thrust into politics. You see, he was not a politician in the sense we would normally associate a leader of his standing. But then politics happened to him, because the first time when I think there were three surprises in life, I would like to say. First surprise was when Narasimha Rao chose Manmohan Singh to be the finance minister, because it was a vision of Narasimha Rao that India could not come out of that particular crisis without taking some very, very bold initiatives. And there was opposition within the Congress party, there was opposition from the left, opposition in parliament. But Narasimha Rao entrusted the task to Dr. Manmohan Singh because of his economic integrity, of his economic understanding. And so that was the first big surprise for him. Subsequently, when Congress moved on from Narasimha Rao to Sitaram Kesari inducted him in the Congress Working Committee, which is the highest decision-making body of the party. And Kesari brought Manmohan Singh in to give effect to the dictum.
All right, Shekharji, sorry to cut you short. I'll come back to you, but Siddharth is joining us on the phone line. Siddharth, what do you see there? What is the latest you can tell us?
The latest is this, Abhishek, that the mortal remains of former Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh, have arrived here at Nigambodh Ghat, and we are here at Ground Zero, and there's a very strong security which is there, as people are actually wanting to go to that vehicle where the mortal remains of former Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh is there. As we can see right now, I can see from my eyes that the mortal remains, have arrived here at Nigambodh Ghat, and the VVIPs along with that, VIP and VVIPs are also there, who are going inside the Nigambodh Ghat. And as I can see, the vehicle in which the mortal remains of former Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh is there. It is right outside the Nigambodh Ghat, and right now it is entering, in fact, inside the Nigambodh Ghat. We'll get visuals of the same for our viewers. But as of now, the heavy security deployment is here as the vehicle is entering inside the Nigambodh Ghat here. Abhishek, everyone is capturing this particular moment. All the journalists, fraternity, along with the VIPs, VVIPs, heavy security is also there. The truck is now actually entering the Nigambodh Ghat, as I can see from here. And after that, the rituals will start. The rituals will follow. The tentative timing is of 11:45 of the funeral, and the truck is actually entering inside the Nigambodh Ghat. Which it started from former Manmohan Singh, Dr. Manmohan Singh's residence, and then the mortal remains went to the AICC, the Congress headquarters. There, the mortal remains were there for public for public and for the Congress members. A leader of opposition in the lower house of the Indian Parliament, Rahul Gandhi, is also in that same vehicle. On that same vehicle where the mortal remains of former Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh's mortal remains is, and the truck is actually going inside right now. Now it's entering, Abhishek. Right now, as I can see, the truck is entering inside the Nigambodh Ghat, and it has entered now. It has gone inside. The rituals will now follow. The timing for the same was 11:45. Like I was saying, that the mortal remains went. Mortal remains, from the Prime Minister, former Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh's residence, went to AICC and then to here to Nigambodh Ghat. I can see from my the truck has entered inside. There's a heavy security deployment. People are wanting to go inside, but the movement is highly restricted. There are different security teams that have been deployed here at Nigambodh Ghat, and we'll get you the visuals of the same, Abhishek. That's it that we are getting for you from here as of now. The gates are
all right, Siddharth, we can see in the visuals, in fact, these are the live visuals that we are showing our viewers, that the vehicle, the mortal remains of Dr. Manmohan Singh, the vehicle has entered at the gate of Nigambodh Ghat, and now the gate, outside gate has been closed, and several leaders are there to attend the final rites of former Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh. Siddharth, do you want to name a few of the leaders who have come in to attend the last rites of Dr. Manmohan Singh?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, with my own eyes, I could see a leader of opposition in Lok Sabha, which is the lower house of Indian Parliament. Rahul Gandhi was on that same vehicle where the mortal remains. Along with that, there are some other politicians, other leaders as well, VVIPs and VIPs who have entered, who are already there inside, and some other leaders, some other politicians are also coming. The gates, although, however, are closed right now, but there are some other prominent leaders who are there inside. As the funeral for former Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh will begin, the time for which, like I told you, Abhishek, was 11:45 a.m. You can see these visuals, if you can, then the gate is closed and you can see the heavy deployment of security personnel, everyone, and there were people who just wanted to go inside as well. They were stopped by the security personnel here at the Nigambodh Ghat, and right now the scene is such that the outside the gate, it's too crowded. Only VIPs and VVIPs are allowed, to go inside, and no other person can go inside. For the former Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh's funeral. You can see these visuals. The gates are now opened once again. There are some VIPs and VVIPs who are going inside. With my own eyes, I could see leader of opposition in Lok Sabha, Rahul Gandhi, was that on that same vehicle as the truck entered, as that vehicle entered the Nigambodh Ghat. Abhishek,
all right, Siddharth, thank you for getting us the latest from Nigambodh Ghat. We'll keep coming back to you. But Shekharji, man of many legacies, significant loss to the Indian politics. Is there any memory, any personal memory of his that strikes you at this stage?
Well, I had the opportunity of traveling with him to, as part of the media entourage on his visits to, many countries on official visits. And invariably on return, he would have an interaction with the traveling media, accompanying media, where he would be very forthright about his discussions, about the achievements. And in all that, there was a tremendous amount of clarity. Because what always struck one was whether it was a complicated foreign policy issue or something that involved international strategic issues or matters. Manmohan Singh, as the Prime Minister, had a very, very clear what was best in Indian interest and what government approach was and how to go about it. And also, when he was chairman of the AICC Economic Cell, had an opportunity of interact with him, because then the Congress was in the opposition. So, and that is the time also one saw that, and as a supporting party to Devgowda government. So there were occasions where he would be very clear what was the best possible solution to be for any given economic matter, and it was very clear as to what has to be done. Out and out, he was an economist who had a vision, who knew what were the basic problems afflicting this country and how to go about it. And that is why today in the tributes that you are seeing, that he was a great learner, he was open to ideas, and he shared his knowledge, his understanding, his wisdom. And that was something, and he was a mentor to so many of his experts and advisors, and with whom he always felt at home in giving his views very frankly. And he was also open to criticism, in the sense he would listen to critics who differed with him, and with all due deference. And we all know the kind of relationship he had with opposition leaders like Atal Bihari Vajpayee ji. And there are several occasions where, it is said when the 1991 liberalization was brought and the first budget came, Atal Bihari Vajpayee ji was very, very critical, by being the leader of the opposition. That was a time because for the first time, Dr. Manmohan Singh was facing Parliament and as the finance minister. So there is one particular episode where Vajpayee was scathing in the government approach to policies then. So upset was Manmohan Singh, he went to Narasimha Rao and said, look, I cannot manage if there is such a criticism to what I am proposing. So that was the time when Narasimha Rao conveyed to Atalji that this is how Manmohan Singh feels, and Vajpayee in turn conveyed to Manmohan Singh, look, there is nothing personal in this. I have to do as a leader of the opposition, and you do what has to be done as a finance minister of India. So such was the occasion that subsequently too, we have seen several repartees between him, both as the leader of the opposition, then as Prime Minister, between him and other opposition leaders, whether it was Advani ji or whether it was Sushma Swaraj, and then Dr. Manmohan Singh had a penchant for Urdu poetry. After all, his initial years were in the undivided India, which later became Pakistan. So his primary education was in Urdu. So he had a good knowledge of Urdu, particularly poetry, which he would often share or end his speeches with. And that will set everybody at ease, and everyone would have a good laugh. And sometimes his poetry was also returned with equal poetry, from leaders like Sushma Swaraj. So these are some occasions which also, shows the rich interaction that happens in our parliament.
Shekharji, also, is there a story when Dr. Manmohan Singh didn't know that he was going to be the finance minister of the country, and then came the message that be present for the swearing-in ceremony, and the rest, they say, is history. Do you want to share the story with us?
Yes, this has been even documented by his daughter. How he was, I think, out of the country then, or I'm not sure about where he was, but then it was then Principal Secretary to Prime Minister Narasimha Rao, Dr. P.C. Alexander, who called up Dr. Manmohan Singh to inform him that Narasimha Rao wants him to be the finance minister. And he could not believe what he was hearing. He said, why me? But he was told that the instructions are that you be present tomorrow at the swearing-in. There was no question of, seeking his consent or anything. He was told that he should be ready. That was his big surprise. And he had lengthy discussions with Narasimha Rao. Both of them had a tremendous faith in each other. And Narasimha Rao explained to him the kind of crisis India was going through. You see, in the period before Narasimha Rao became Prime Minister, we saw a period where there was coalition government. First you had VP Singh, then Chandrasekhar, then Congress withdrew support to Chandrasekhar government, then the elections were held, then Narasimha Rao became Prime Minister. So that period saw a lot of policy problems for the government of India, and Narasimha Rao felt that it called for very, very bold measures, because those were the days when we had to be negotiating with IMF and we had to talk to World Bank also. There were several things which needed a kind of a visionary like Narasimha Rao as well as Dr. Manmohan Singh. So those were the periods. And when the liberalization came, there were so many people who said this will not work. India is not ready for that kind of changes. But then that proved to be panacea. And that is how India opened up. And once they saw the benefit, they felt that, in fact, if the reforms had taken place a decade earlier, India could have, progressed much further. So throughout, and one point we have to understand, you see, Manmohan Singh was not always for pro-reforms or liberalization. Because some people even point out that when he was heading some commission, his views were very much left of the center. But when the country faced the kind of problem it faced in the early 90s, Manmohan Singh did not hesitate to junk his old ideas and completely embrace a new approach to problem solving. Because he always believed you cannot be stuck in old ideas. You cannot solve new problems with old solutions. So that is how the 1991 reforms came, when the industrial policy was rewritten, and the whole thing was thrown open. And subsequently, we have seen, those 5 years of liberalization. Then under Atalji, you had NDA 1, which took those reforms further. And finally, when it was handed over, when NDA 1 was followed by UPA 1. In fact, Dr. Manmohan Singh inherited a state of economy which was far better than earlier. So therefore, one can see how there was a continuation during that period, and that helped in way forward. As you also mentioned, that subsequently in 2004, when UPA lost to the BJP-led NDA, and 2014, when Prime Minister Narendra Modi took over, all those reform measures were revisited, and further impetus was given to see how fast changes can happen in this country, so that we not only remove poverty, but also tap the potential that is India.
For the initiatives like the Right to Information Act that defines so much about transparency in this country. Narega earlier, then it was changed to Manrega. That too was brought by Dr. Singh, which proved to be a game changer. India-US civil nuclear deal too. The thing is passing away is a significant loss to Indian politics and economics.
Well, India has lost, I would say, a person who had a vision for this country, a person who held India's growth story as the key to a solution for several of the problems faced by this country. And if poverty had to be banished, then India had to grow, and India has to grow faster. And who believed that politics must not come with the way of taking those crucial decisions that are needed for India's growth, for things to speed up and to tap its potential.
Shekharji, also, is it true that how Dr. Manmohan Singh was less interested in the inner politics of the Congress and more maybe about the business of running the government during his tenure?
Well, Dr. Manmohan Singh, accepted the limitations of his role because he was the first Congress Prime Minister who was not president of the Congress party also. Previously, if you see, all the Congress Prime Ministers have been president of the party. So when Dr. Manmohan Singh took over as Prime Minister, the role of the Prime Minister and the role of the head of the Congress party, they were separated. So it was Sonia Gandhi who was heading the party. And definitely, you could see that both efforts were made to see that there were no two power centers. In the sense, Dr. Manmohan Singh accepted that Dr. Sonia Gandhi, as the Congress president, held greater sway over the government and the party. And that, of course, led to some criticism that Sonia Gandhi's led National Advisory Council was some kind of a super government. And there was criticism on this because a lot of decisions which were thrust upon Dr. Manmohan Singh were the suggestions from the National Advisory Council. But there were areas where Dr. Manmohan Singh resisted those pressures. But he understood that there were limitations to his role. And he believed from whatever the limitations that are there to the areas where he can exercise authority, Manmohan Singh realized that there are certain things that have to be done. But he also enjoyed a kind of an understanding with Sonia Gandhi, where Sonia Gandhi felt that there were certain areas it was best left to Dr. Manmohan Singh to decide, whether it was foreign policy or whether it was crucial economic areas. So there was some, I would say, a good understanding, but definitely there was a feeling that Manmohan Singh was always under pressure from the party, particularly Congress leaders who came to be acting on behalf of Congress President, the then Congress President Sonia Gandhi. So there were issues which we got more pronounced in the UPA phase 2, particularly when the scams began to rock the government. Everybody felt Manmohan Singh had no role in them because these ministers or the ministries, they used to take directions from the party or from the party leadership. But Dr. Manmohan Singh many times felt helpless when the acts of omission and commission by his ministers and the kind of pressure that the party had on his government put him in a position where he had to take all the brickbats.
But despite being under pressure, adding what you said about Dr. Singh, you think did his tearing of the landmark Indo-US nuclear deal also give a glimpse of Dr. Singh, the politician, showing that he knew the art of real politics too?
Well, Indo-US nuclear deal was something on which he really staked his authority because he felt that deal was very, very important for, because it was not so much the nuclear deal per se, but it was to end India's isolation when it came to technology transfer, when it came to need for cooperation in very critical areas of technology and science. So that deal, was something which Dr. Manmohan Singh felt was in the best interest of the country. And it was one deal which did not get the support of the opposition and also his major partner, the left parties. So on that issue, left withdrew support. He had to face a vote of confidence. And throughout that, he felt that whatever was being done in the best interest of the country. Because that paved the way, as I said, for, whether it was US or other Western countries, that led to a situation where India could easily access those high-end technologies, which was not available to India earlier, after the Pokhran II. So he felt that this isolation has to be ended. And this nuclear deal was a kind of a test case for which both the Americans also worked on it. President Bush and he, and subsequently they worked hard on that deal, because that was to see that India got the kind of technology it needed. And US also realized that this was one way of getting access to India's market. So this was something which was a win-win for both countries, and it paved the way for a higher, I would say, access to technology for India. But on this, but Dr. Manmohan Singh did not see any reason for any compromise, because he got his ministers and he himself had several rounds of talks with the left parties. But left parties had an ideological position. Ideological position was that we could not be doing business with America. But Prime Minister did not look at the Indo-US nuclear deal as some kind of an ideological thing, rather something that was necessary for India. And it was important that India did not plow a lonely furrow, rather join those, galaxy of nations which had access to advanced technology in every field.
And Shekharji, would you agree with this, that his tenure as finance minister in the early 90s and later as prime minister from 2004 to 2014 introduced policies that continue to influence India's growth?
Definitely. You see, in fact, the reforms have gone further under Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Because if today there is a lot of admiration for Dr. Manmohan Singh, and it is coming from top BJP leaders, whether it is a Prime Minister or all senior cabinet colleagues, they feel that rather they distinguish between Dr. Manmohan Singh, the Prime Minister of India, and Dr. Manmohan Singh as the Congress Prime Minister. Because they feel that Manmohan Singh managed to do a lot of things despite the limitations on him. This was a coalition government, and a coalition government that was supported in the first phase by left parties, and there were other allies. And Dr. Manmohan Singh himself felt that his style of functioning was curbed by what he called the coalition dharma. But despite all that, when finally he left office in 2014, he had managed to do a lot of things that he wanted to do. Though he also felt he could have done it better. He also felt he could have acted more sternly when the first set of scams were appearing. But then he was constrained by his party. He was constrained by influence of people who belonged to his party and who wielded a lot of influence. But that is one story. But the main question is, he did manage to do things which he felt, which had nothing to do with him as personally, but it was born out of his belief that India can no longer, approach modern problems with a thinking that dated back to a different time. Yes, every prime minister has always sought to leave behind a legacy. And some people managed to cross what they themselves felt was a Rubicon. And Dr. Manmohan Singh felt the liberalization that was brought by Narasimha Rao government and with he as finance minister needed to be taken further. But then one problem, the UPA 1 and UPA 2 was also under pressure to think of more social welfare programs. So that because it had to do with more social welfare program, he could not, look for major changes that which he wanted, because always the emphasis was on social welfare side. Welfareism, took over reforms. And it was not until Narendra Modi ji took over as PM, we could see some balance happening between welfareism and the need for changes to usher in faster growth.
Shekharji, condolences pour in from across the world, from Angela Merkel to Barack Obama. We saw his image also with Dr. Singh, Antony Blinken too. Obama called him the man of uncommon wisdom and decency. Blinken said that he was one of the greatest champions of India-US strategic partnerships. You think did his tenure as PM also see a turning point in India's foreign policy?
Definitely, definitely. There were particularly India's relation with the US, India's relation with France, with several Western countries underwent a lot of changes. And if today, in their tribute, if the world leaders are recalling their meeting, their association, it only goes to show how much they trusted his vision, a vision for the world and vision for India's role in the world. I think that speaks volumes as to the kind of leadership he gave to the government of India. And it's not a surprise whether it is President Obama or whether it is the French president or other leaders. They can all realize that if things have taken to a point where we see the relation with India, relationship between India and these countries today, they had their beginning in the initiatives that were undertaken by Dr. Manmohan Singh. And India's nuclear deal, as I mentioned earlier, it was not just about the nuclear deal. It was a lot more putting India in the company of, those nations where India's strategic interests sometimes completely aligned with the strategic interest of those countries. That is why today all of them want to credit, and particularly on economic issues, North-South cooperation, or it was about developmental issues affecting the developing countries. In all these things, Dr. Manmohan Singh could articulate not only India's position, but also offer solutions which were of a workable nature, which those countries, the advanced countries, felt that this was the way forward to achieving what can be achieved in an equitable world order.
Yes, certainly, like we have been discussing, Shekharji, he helped India come out of the 1991 crisis. Liberalization he brought about changed the way world looked at India, and India looked at the world. But there was a time when he not only helped India come out of the crisis, but the world too, when the recession came in 2008.
Yes, see, those were also very, very difficult years. You had first the East Asia meltdown, and subsequently there were very, very difficult moments. And those were the times when you had to shield India from those external influences, and which Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh did his best to see that India, could come out without much damage. So even today, when we talk of India's economy, in terms of the global slowdown and other things, India remains insulated because of policy decisions of Dr. Manmohan Singh then, and of the initiatives that have been undertaken by Prime Minister Narendra Modi. See, these all require some policies have to be continued, some policies need change, some policies will have to be shaped in anticipation of future challenges. And that is something Dr. Manmohan Singh was also good at. And you can see the current dispensation also, keeping in mind how India has to prepare for the future. And to prepare for the future is to also get ready in the present.
All right, so these are the visuals that we are showing you. The final journey of former Prime Minister Manmohan Singh began from the AICC headquarters today morning after Congress leaders paid homage to their departed leader. These are the visuals that we are showing you from Nigambodh Ghat in New Delhi, where the last rites of former Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh will be performed. The flower bead-decked vehicle carrying the mortal remains of Dr. Singh left the Congress headquarters in a procession amid chants of Manmohan Singh Amar Rahe, and a large number of Congress workers and leaders, along with hundreds of Dr. Manmohan Singh's well-wishers, walked along as there were slogans that Manmohan Singh Amar Rahe, Jab tak Suraj Chand Rahega, Tab tak Tera Naam Rahega. And former Congress chief and leader of opposition in Lok Sabha, Rahul Gandhi, also accompanied the procession alongside Dr. Manmohan Singh's relatives. We'll go across to Siddharth Bhardwaj again. He's at the Nigambodh Ghat. Siddharth, what is the latest you can tell us now? All right, so mortal remains were kept inside the AICC headquarters for about an hour with several top leaders of the Congress, including Mallikarjun Kharge, Sonia Gandhi, Rahul Gandhi, paying their last respect among others. Dr. Manmohan Singh's wife Gursharan Kaur and one of his daughters also laid a wreath on his body and paid their last respects. So these are the visuals that we are getting you from Nigambodh Ghat. Several leaders have come in to attend the last rites of former Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh, and Prime Minister Narendra Modi has also arrived at Nigambodh Ghat to attend the last rites of Dr. Manmohan Singh. State funeral will be accorded to former India Prime Minister Dr. Singh. So the mortal remains of former Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh were brought to the Congress headquarters in Delhi from his residence in a flower-bedecked vehicle, and then the mortal remains were kept at the Congress headquarters for party leaders and workers to pay their last respects to him. The former Prime Minister's last rites happening at Nigambodh Ghat, and his final journey began from the Congress headquarters. All right, my colleague Anil Thomas is with us. Anil, you were there at the AICC headquarters in the morning where the final journey of Dr. Manmohan Singh began, and we can see in the visuals Prime Minister Narendra Modi, Defence Minister Rajnath Singh, Union Home Minister Amit Shah, Vice President Jagdeep Dhankar, all are there to attend the last rites of Dr. Manmohan Singh.
Well, very much, full state honours being given there to the departed former Prime Minister, Dr. Manmohan Singh. And I think the Prime Minister, along with senior cabinet members there coming, reflects the importance that Prime Minister Narendra Modi places on his former colleague from a different party, but a former Prime Minister there of India, and the significant role Prime Minister has time and again highlighted, especially after visiting his home, paying his tributes to the former Prime Minister and speaking to the family. He did speak about the immense role or the importance of Dr. Manmohan Singh, not only as an economist but also as a statesman. And the changes that he's brought about, liberalization, globalization, privatization, all important roles that different ways that Dr. Manmohan Singh has left an imprint on India and for the world. And I think this particular presence of the Prime Minister along with senior cabinet ministers clearly indicative of the respect, the mutual respect that the Prime Ministers had. Remember, these two Prime Ministers have many things in common. They both come from humble backgrounds. They both don't have any political lineage. They both have worked their way through the party ranks to rise to the top. And I think that respect, that humiliation clearly reflective in this particular mood where the Prime Minister is there to pay his final respects to the former Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh.
Anil, also his legacy leaves a strong imprint on our economic policies and also several aspects of governance. People there, they were talking about his politics and his legacy, legacy that he leaves behind, and people at the Congress office must be talking about his legacy.
Well, exactly. When you look at Prime Minister, when you look at Dr. Manmohan Singh, especially his role as a Prime Minister, his graph can be classified into two parts. One, that is 1991, when he was the finance minister, and the liberalization that he brought about, the economic reforms that he brought about, the end of license Raj, were some of the important steps that were taken in his regime as the finance minister. Then, as the Prime Minister in 2004, juggling especially understanding politics when he's a shy, not a man of many words, rather a man of deeds. Those kind of situations were not, becoming of a prime minister. Many expected a prime minister to be more forthcoming, more, interactive. But then, having his ears to the ground, I think that's something that is unique about Dr. Manmohan Singh. And he could listen to the problems of people. And I think that's something that you would see that, those threads being carried forward. And the economic highway that we have hit, look at the stock markets, look at, the numbers. Clearly, those initial phase or the initial, I would say the foundation of it was laid by Dr. Manmohan Singh, especially with the liberalization, the privatization and globalization ideas that he had. Also getting that mathematic right when it comes to, getting it all done politically, because that's the tough part. I think if you manage to do that, I think that's clearly something that, one can learn, especially, or one can look forward to when it comes to his legacy. And another thing that stands out, especially his work, is, the advice, the inputs that he gave, not only to India to, begin that journey of growth, but also, that critical inputs that he gave during the global recession period of 2008. The world respects it. World leaders at that point of time have all come in unison praising, Dr. Manmohan Singh on his death. I think that's reflective of the value, the importance that Dr. Manmohan Singh has not only for India but also for the world.
Anil, also when Dr. Manmohan Singh was appointed finance minister in 1991 by then Prime Minister P.V. Narasimha Rao, India was on the brink of economic collapse. Do you want to mention about how he introduced a series of sweeping reforms to stabilize the economy?
Well, that was one of the tough phases that the Indian economy faced. When he took over as finance minister, that particular day when he took over as the prime minister, when he took over as the finance minister in 1991 at the P.V. Narasimha Rao government, that particular evening, there was a gathering for friends and relatives at his home, which was cancelled with no reason given for the cancellation. Dr. Manmohan Singh is not somebody who gives in appointments and then tries to cancel it. And that particular point was seen through the entire 10-year tenure as Prime Minister. He never cancelled, a man rare to cancel appointments that he's given to people. So when that was done, many were surprised, but then that was the day he took oath as the finance minister. And the challenges were immense. Indian reserves were close to $1 billion US, and that was enough to import oil and, for maybe few weeks. So the challenge when he took the role of, or the baton of the finance minister was huge. And the reforms that he brought about, especially the liberalization of economy, the end of license rush that he did, transformative steps that were challenging, steps that needed the cabinet to back you, steps that needed the prime minister to back you. I think he had a staunch leader in P.V. Narasimha Rao who was ready to back, those difficult or tough steps that he proposed to the prime minister then. And I think that's where, the jugalbandi that they had, P.V. Narasimha Rao along with Dr. Manmohan Singh as the finance minister, clearly leaves a lasting impression in the minds of the people. If you look at all the papers, the last 48 hours, all the newspapers, you've seen 2 newspapers go by, and all newspaper headlines talked about the liberalization that Dr. Manmohan Singh brought about. And I think that's an imprint that he leaves for the world to pick, and lessons that, when he spoke, especially when it comes to the financial and economic part for India and the world, I think are lessons that the world have listened to very carefully. The best tribute that he could have got was when Barack Obama said, when Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan speaks, the world listens. I think that's a fitting tribute to the man and the inputs that he's given to the world and to India.
Also, Anil, his tenure as finance minister in the early 90s and then later as Prime Minister from 2004 to 2014 introduced policies you think that continue to influence India's growth?
Well, remember, Prime Minister, when he was a Prime Minister, when he was given the leadership or the baton of becoming the Prime Minister of India, it came clearly as a shot in the dark for Dr. Manmohan Singh too. Dr. Manmohan Singh was, looking at maybe getting a cabinet berth, but to lead the country and to lead a cabinet where coalition dharma had just begun in India, 2004 was the very initial phase of coalition dharma, where we had multiple political parties coming together, lending support to one political party, and then the country being led in that direction. So the coalition dharma was new, and when coalition dharma was new, it was very difficult for Dr. Manmohan Singh to go ahead and take those kind of steps, economic reforms, or for that matter, welfare, people-centric reforms that needed to be done. But I think many reforms that he brought about during his tenure as a Prime Minister, right to education, right to food security, right to land acquisition, the SEZ came under him. Even the digital journey that India today has enjoyed, the initial foundation of it was laid, the direct benefit transfer, the Aadhaar, during his second tenure as Prime Minister that he brought about. The important step of laying the foundation, taking it forward and bringing it big is something that the present day government has managed to do. But then, getting that foundation and also taking it forward in the right direction is something that it's gone hand in hand. And I think carrying forward.
All right, we'll try to connect with Anil Thomas again, but leaders paying tributes to Dr. Manmohan Singh. We are getting you these visuals from Nigambodh Ghat. Several leaders are there to pay respects to Dr. Manmohan Singh. Shekhar Iyer, senior journalist, continues to stay with us. Shekharji, two things that he really spoke towards the end of his tenure. One was when he says that history would be kinder to him, and also when he said that his tenure has been like an open book.
Well, I think if he were to hear all the tributes that are being paid to him, he would realize that his statement has indeed come true. Because today everybody, no matter, notwithstanding political differences and other things, today everyone is crediting him for the good things that were done under his leadership, both as a finance minister and as the Prime Minister. I think in hindsight, a lot of things, a lot of decisions he had to take, and some of it were very difficult. And many were at that given point of time not very popular. And even his own partymen had, doubts as to what would be the impact of those changes that he was ushering in. And he did not get the kind of support he needed at that time from his own party. But he realized sometimes you have to take hard decisions. Sometimes you have to take decisions that are in the best interest of the country, the best interest of the economy, and time will bear him out. That is why he said history will be kinder to him. Because throughout, he was always projected by his critics as a person who chose to play second fiddle, though he occupied the highest office in this country. So, but his CA was, given the limitations in which he was, so he had to, follow whatever was given to him, whatever had to be done to him. And he acted within those limitations. Because ultimately, Dr. Manmohan Singh is today being evaluated against the challenges he faced, how he faced them, and in that limited space that he had, because of the nature of the mandate of 2004, and given the coalition pressures, and also the fact that he was not heading of the Congress. There was Sonia Gandhi with the National Advisory Council, which was seen as a more powerful setup than even his own office. So these were things, the reality which he faced, but nevertheless, he did not let that, inhibit his action as the Prime Minister.
All right, Shekhar Iyerji, we'll leave it at that. Thank you for sharing your insights on the legacy of Dr. Manmohan Singh. But Anil Thomas continues to stay with us, and we can see in the visuals, Indian President Draupadi Murmu is also there to pay the final respects to former Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh. All right, Anil continues to stay with us. Anil, how is the distinguished leader being remembered by his family members and his admirers particularly? All right, so these are the live visuals we are getting you from Nigambodh Ghat in New Delhi. Several leaders are there. President Draupadi Murmu, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, Defence Minister Rajnath Singh, Vice President Jagdeep Dhankar, Union Home Minister Amit Shah. Top-notch leaders are there for the final rites of Dr. Manmohan Singh, who passed away at 9:51 p.m. on December 26 at All India Institute of Medical Sciences. It was decided by the government that state funeral will be accorded to Dr. Manmohan Singh. So, last rites of former Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh, thinker, scholar and a gentleman politician, and his loss has inspired a wide range of tributes for a political leader distinguished by his integrity, humility, deep understanding of the economy and achievements as both Finance Minister and long-standing Prime Minister. He spent 5 years between 1991 and 1996 as India's Finance Minister, and his role in ushering in a comprehensive policy of economic reforms is recognized worldwide. So, these are the visuals that we are showing you from Nigambodh Ghat. Several top-notch leaders are there to attend the last rites of Dr. Manmohan Singh, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, Defence Minister Rajnath Singh, Union Home Minister Amit Shah, President Draupadi Murmu, Vice President Jagdeep Dhankar, all there to attend the last rites of former Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh. Anil Thomas is with us. Anil, how is the distinguished leader being remembered by his family members and admirers particularly?
You know, I did make a mention about his family members finding or rather looking at him as a doting father, somebody who's played every role that he had as a father, as a grandfather, with total humility and decency. And when it comes to leading the nation for 10 years and the transformation that he brought about, especially in the economic landscape of India, reflects his persona that he believed that he's a man of few words, but then he believes in delivering and let his work do the talking. He was not somebody. Many talk about him as a man who rather believes in doing what he preaches, and I think that's one quality that stands out, especially when it comes to Dr. Manmohan Singh. During his tenure, that irrespective of the tough challenges and situations he faced, especially reminded of the 2008 civil nuclear deal with the United States of America, that laid the foundation for, a wonderful relation between India and USA to continue and to blossom further. He saw to it that, whatever be the obstacles, whatever be the speed breakers that come in its path, he was determined to see it through. And I think that speaks volumes about about Dr. Manmohan Singh and the resolve that he had, especially when he thought about getting things done. He saw to it that he had to do the political maneuvering. And once he got the political maneuvering done, I think he was always to the point when it comes to the vision that he had. And getting to the vision is something very important. And I think that's on many occasions that you've seen that he didn't talk much, but then he believed that what's the mission needs to be achieved in the best possible way.
Yes, Anil, like you mentioned, he was also a devoted husband and father. And even in his famous July 1992 speech, there was a light-hearted paragraph that proposed elimination of excise duties on tiffin boxes, where he said that I have had to spend long hours in office and this has quite naturally made my wife very unhappy, and the House will agree that it is not good for the health of our economy if the finance minister of the country has strained relations with his own finance minister at home. But Anil, tell us the process that is being followed, when the state funeral is being given.
Well, at this point of time, you've seen the leaders there, the President of India, the Prime Minister, the senior cabinet members, all there offering their respects. After that, the state funeral will take place there at Nigambodh Ghat. We've got our team covering it from covering that particular event for us. And this state funeral is something that leaders managed to get, especially former prime ministers and all senior leaders managed to get. And this is one moment there, especially a state funeral, that when a leader gets, the importance that the state places or the importance that the nation places on that particular leader and his role in the development of the country, that's of paramount importance. And I think this particular state funeral that the former prime minister gets clearly lives a footprint or leaves an imprint of the work, the tireless work that Dr. Manmohan Singh has done right from 1972 to 2024, when his last stint as a member of the Rajya Sabha from the state of Rajasthan ended in April. All the work, that tireless work that he's done, where he's put the country first. And even when he was the minister, finance minister, you did mention about an anecdote with regards to the family. He clearly lived his role, and I think he wore multiple hats. But at the end of the day, the respect and the legacy that he leaves behind is something that one could fondly remember him for.
How Prime Minister Narendra Modi has termed Dr. Manmohan Singh as one of the most distinguished leaders, while LOP Lok Sabha Rahul Gandhi said that he has lost a mentor and a guide. Anil, this was the kind of a relationship that he shared with people. Like Rahul Gandhi is saying that he has lost a mentor and a guide, and Prime Minister Modi termed Dr. Manmohan Singh as one of the most distinguished leaders.
Well, you first got to see, in India we love comparisons, and I think comparisons, when you draw comparisons between Dr. Manmohan Singh and Prime Minister Narendra Modi, there are many common traits between the two. They both come from non-political backgrounds. They both come from humble backgrounds, and they both have humility and a vision to deliver. And I think that's where that common bond can be seen between the two leaders. And I think that's where the respect and the mutual respect that the two leaders share, though from opposite factions, but as former prime ministers, the respect that they two share for each other. You mentioned about Rahul Gandhi. Rahul Gandhi clearly, during his initial phase of his political career, especially the initial days when he won his first Lok Sabha elections in 2004, entering Parliament, and then looking forward to that run that he had. He always fell back on Dr. Manmohan Singh, especially when it comes to guiding things. And 2009, I clearly remember, all that Rahul Gandhi did in the Parliament did Dr. Manmohan Singh somewhere deep down felt that, that particular moment, he somewhere felt that, especially when it comes to many situations inside Parliament too, Dr. Manmohan Singh felt let down. But Dr. Manmohan Singh never let that affect the bonding that he had with Rahul Gandhi. And I think that hand-holding clearly is reflective in the mood that when Rahul Gandhi said that he has lost a mentor. Because at time and again, whenever any advice, especially on economy, was needed, one man that Rahul Gandhi could always fall or lean back on was Dr. Manmohan Singh. I think that particular loss is too big or too huge, too huge a vacuum for somebody to step in and fill in. And I think that's where Rahul Gandhi clearly makes a mention about it. And so does Prime Minister when he speaks about the economists and the statesmen in Dr. Manmohan Singh.
Right, Anil, we have been talking about the 1991 crisis, but there was time when he not only helped India come out of the crisis, like we are mentioning 1991, but the world too when the recession came in 2008.
Well, exactly. 2008 was not a tough period, especially for the world economy. The Goldman Sachs global recession meltdown that we saw, there was fear that, the world is in a trap, especially when it comes to recession, and we could see tough times ahead. But Dr. Manmohan Singh not only encapsulated the Indian economy, it didn't feel that kind of jitters like other world economies like Japan and Japan faced in particular. Also, many economies across the world were falling apart at that point of time. Argentina going through a global crisis. You had Spain in trouble. Many European countries feeling the heat. At that point of time, the advice that he had for the world, especially the World Bank, the IMF, were helpful in determining not only a path of exit, but also getting breathing space for the world to get out of recession. I think those were some of the best times, especially when it comes to inputs and advice that Dr. Manmohan Singh not only shared for India, but also for the world. And the world respects that particular moment when Barack Obama had come and Barack Obama was asked about Dr. Manmohan Singh. He did make a mention about when Dr. Manmohan Singh speaks, the world listens. I think that's a fitting tribute to the man who not only, especially when it comes to economy, he can be called the Chanakya of economic strategy, which helped India find transformation. But not only that, it also helped the world, especially during the 2008 global recession period.
Anil, is he also being remembered for the person he was? He came from a humble background initially, financial challenges that he faced when he was studying abroad. And in his biography also written by his daughter, there were times when they had no food, and I think they had to survive on chocolates.
Well, yes, that particular instance, I was hoping to quote that particular instance. Yes, he did mention about the tough times that he had, especially when it comes to, with his family, and also his survival when he was studying abroad, surviving on chocolates. That's not all. There are many anecdotes, that one would search, especially when it comes to Dr. Manmohan Singh, that you wouldn't realize that are a part of history, but nobody's made a mention about it. So it's good that, sometimes, especially when world leaders or leaders of importance pass away, that we at least refer back to history books and to see important lessons or important anecdotes that are a part of their life. This particular anecdote that you mentioned about surviving on chocolates clearly were, I would say, financial constraints that he saw. And when you see financial constraints in your personal life, you come out, and if you're able to, get out of it, you come out a better person. I think those lessons were clearly reflective in his work when he was getting the country out of those economic distress that the country faced in 1991. And also the development phase that he did in 2004 when he became the Prime Minister for 2 terms, reflects highly about the man and his outlook towards helping the final man standing on the final man standing, that's the common man.
All right, so these are the live visuals. The face has been uncovered now. Everyone has stood up now for the final rites of Dr. Manmohan Singh. Anil, when he was the Prime Minister from 2004 to 2014, tight maneuvering also that he had to do between different coalitions, every string being pulled and every second day. I mean, you thought that something is going wrong with the government maybe. He was the man who did what he preached.
Well, you know, when you have an ambitious vision like Dr. Manmohan Singh had of what a liberal India should be, I think getting the political or the possible political maneuvering right was something that he managed to do with ace. I think that's that package that he brings together that was, you know, that helped him survive, you know, that 10-year period, especially as the Prime Minister. When he was given the baton to lead the country, not many expected him to survive, but then not only surviving phase 1, also leading the nation in phase 2 and serving the nation as Prime Minister for 10 years were crucial, important roles that he, you know, wearing multiple hats, I would say, multiple hats with aplomb and helping the nation, you know, rather laying the foundation for the nation towards the economic highway that we have hit in today's times. So, you know, the nuts and bolts of India's economic journey were set by Dr. Manmohan Singh, first in the liberalization period of 1991, followed by the 2004 journey, 2004 to 2014 journey that he undertook as the Prime Minister. We make a mention about many of the welfare schemes that he brought about, many of the digital initiatives that were launched during his tenure, and also many of the special economic zones and also the Forest Land Act that was brought during his tenure, which were exemplary, which benefited the common man. I think getting the mathematics right of doing good for the common man as well as keeping things under check. But there were also many issues that he faced during those tough phases, especially when it comes to the scams. Also not being able to keep the price rise under check was something that he spoke about at the fag end of his tenure as Prime Minister, that not being able to keep inflation and not being able to keep price rise under check as a cause of concern as you know, his tenure ended.
We discussed it earlier also, Anil, but two things that he really spoke towards the end of his tenure. One, when he says that history would be kinder to him, and second, that his life and tenure is like an open book.
Well, he enjoyed both. I would say his life is an open book for the simple reason is, if you look through, it's pretty easy to read through Manmohan Singh and the work that he has done, you know, right from 1972, the education that he had, the tough times that he faced, the education that he had, the multiple degrees that he held, and all this coming from humble background with humility to learn and to excel. I think he understood the art of, you know, of getting education going right, one that could help the common man, and I think that reflects in the Right to Education Act and the Right to Education as well as the Right to Information Act that was brought about during his tenure. I think the second about history being kind to him, I think today's mood, today's gathering and today's tributes that pour from far and wide, indicative and clearly setting or rather letting us know that history is kind to him, at least in the present day, as compared to the contemporary media then, who were pretty harsh. But then he kept his chin up and was ready to take all the brickbats that came his way and was able to complete his tenure, his 10 years as Prime Minister there, with many hiccups. But then to keep a clean image at the end of the day and, you know, to walk with your head held high is a big achievement that Dr. Manmohan Singh had managed in his tenure as Prime Minister.
All right, so funeral ceremony is being performed now. Last rites of former Prime Minister of India, Dr. Manmohan Singh. The final journey of former Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh began from the AICC headquarters in the morning after several leaders paid homage to the departed leader. The flower bedecked vehicle carried the mortal remains of Dr. Singh, left the Congress headquarters in a procession amid chants of Manmohan Singh Amar Rahe. A large number of Congress workers and leaders, along with the well-wishers of Dr. Manmohan Singh, walked along that bedecked vehicle. Former Congress chief and leader of opposition in Lok Sabha, Rahul Gandhi, also accompanied the procession alongside Dr. Manmohan Singh's relatives. So the funeral is being performed now, last rites of Dr. Manmohan Singh. Everyone praying for the departed soul. You can see in attendance President Draupadi Murmu, Vice President Jagdeep Dhankar, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, Defence Minister Rajnath Singh, Home Minister Amit Shah, and several other leaders present at Nigambodh Ghat for the final rites of former Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh. The mortal remains were kept inside the AICC headquarters for about an hour in the morning, with several top leaders of the Congress, including Mallikarjun Kharge, Sonia Gandhi, Rahul Gandhi, paying their last respects, among others. You can see in the visuals Dr. Manmohan Singh's wife, Gursharan Kaur, and one of his daughters, who also laid a wreath on his body and paid their last respects. So we are getting you these visuals from Nigambodh Ghat. Everyone standing with folded hands, praying for the departed soul. Funeral is taking place now of late former Prime Minister of India, Dr. Manmohan Singh. Anil, big loss for India, big loss for Indian politics. We are discussing the legacy that he leaves behind. But let's step back and go back at the time when Dr. Manmohan Singh didn't know that he was going to be the finance minister of the country. And then the message came that be present for the swearing in, and the rest, they say, is history. Do you want to share that story with our viewers?
Well, you've made a mention about it, and I think that particular story clearly, once again, if you go back to that story and look at history, will be kind to him. I think when he made a mention about that, he did reflect on the journey that he's had. He's a man who's always let his work. He was a man of few words, didn't express himself much. You would never make out whether he was angry or whether he was happy with a particular move that's happened, or with the jostling that he would see, especially with cabinet ministers and coalition politics, the coalition dharma that needed to be followed at that point of time. But then there was one thing that always stood out about Dr. Manmohan Singh. Dr. Manmohan Singh never let anything affect him. Since he was a good economist, he always found a way to get around the coalition partners with some numbers. And I think that's what could be one of the big reasons why the choice of him leading UPA 1 as the Prime Minister was taken. Because, he could see light at the end of the tunnel, especially when it comes to tough situations that the country faced as Finance Minister. And maybe that's the reason why over many other aspirants he was chosen to lead the country. He didn't have a political landscape, but then he did have the economic foresight to help the country come out of a tough situation once, and that's the reason why he was given the baton of leading the country as a Prime Minister in 2004.
Right, his passing away is a significant loss to Indian politics, economics. We have been discussing about the legacy that he leaves behind. We spoke about the 1991 liberalization, how he saved the Indian economy and played a big role in 2008 when the world was going through recession. Anil, talk to us about the legacy that he leaves behind.
Well, you know, he is regarded especially as the architect of India's economic liberalization. And I think he's played a pivotal role in the various forms that he had to play, you know, when it comes to transforming, especially the country's economy during those particular time of severe crisis that country had faced time and again. His tenure as finance minister in the 1990s and later as prime minister in 2004 to 2014. You know, he introduced policies time and again that continue to somewhere influence India's growth, and I think that's one of the biggest legacies that he leaves behind. You know, when it comes to India's growth story, that was something that was paramount to the Prime Minister, and also helping the common man, you know, with the social security schemes that were brought during UPA 1 and UPA 2, were a reflection of how he envisioned India. In India that is on the growth path, but an India that is liberal and an India that could take on the world.
Right, so Dr. Manmohan Singh, former Prime Minister, passed away at 9:51 p.m. on December 26 at All India Institute of Medical Sciences. It was decided by the government that state funeral will be accorded to Dr. Manmohan Singh. He was born on September 26, 1932. And apart from being an economist, Dr. Singh served as Reserve Bank of India Governor from 1982 to 1985. Was the 14th Prime Minister of India with his tenure from 2004 to 2014. Tributes coming in from leaders across the political spectrum, and India observing 7-day mourning period in his honor. A thinker, scholar and a gentleman politician, and his loss has inspired a wide range of tributes for a political leader distinguished by his integrity, humility, deep understanding of the economy and achievements as both Finance Minister and Prime Minister. Last rites of Dr. Singh being performed at Nigambodh Ghat. He spent 5 years between 1991 and 1996 as India's Finance Minister, and his role in ushering in a comprehensive policy of economic reforms is recognized worldwide. In the popular view of those years in India, that period is inextricably associated with the persona of Dr. Singh.
तो अब अंतिम संस्कार के लिए इस प्रक्रिया को और आगे बढ़ाया जा रहा है और
All right, so my colleague Mark Lynn is also joining me. Mark, how do you want to remember Dr. Manmohan Singh?
Well, Abhishek, Dr. Manmohan Singh will be a remarkable human being, has played a significant role in the development of our country, but also as a role model for people. One must remember that Dr. Manmohan Singh came from humble beginning and, set himself high targets, high standards, and he achieved them all against difficult odds. When we look at, the time when India, the time that he had to come in, his family belonged to the Pakistan side. They came across after partition. He had to.
All right, Mark, we'll come back to you. There's some technical issue with your audio, but last rites of Dr. Manmohan Singh being performed. His family members are in attendance. Several leaders are also there, and funeral is about to take place now. He spent 5 years between 1991 and 1996 as India's finance minister, and his role in ushering in a comprehensive policy of economic reforms is recognized worldwide. Dr. Manmohan Singh's government introduced the National Rural Employment Guarantee Act, NREGA, which later came to be known as Manrega. The Right to Information Act was passed in 2005 under Manmohan Singh government, which made the transparency of information between the government and the public better. Anil Thomas, my colleague, continues to stay with us. Anil, like Prime Minister Narendra Modi was also mentioning, when he was on wheelchair also, he made sure that he casted the vote and he attended the parliament because he retired from Rajya Sabha after serving for 33 years. And his work, like PM Modi was also mentioning, earned him recognition as the architect of modern India's economic framework.
Well, exactly, Abhishek. That particular moment, especially when he came on the wheelchair, in that, it was almost the fag end of his membership in the upper house, that's Rajya Sabha. And I think the importance that he laid, in being a Rajya Sabha MP and also being there as and when the situation or the need arose to be there in Parliament to discuss on important issues, discuss on important bills that we presented. And I think that shows, the stress that he laid, especially when it comes to, understanding the nuances of the bills. And that's not all. His expertise, especially when it comes to economics and strategy and also geopolitical issues, were brought to the forefront even when he was a member of the leader of the opposition in the Rajya Sabha during the Vajpayee government's time, and also when he was a member of the Rajya Sabha, sitting in the opposition there, listening to some of the steps that were taken and some of the bills that were introduced during the last 10 years. He always had a valid point to make, and I think the government was also very reciprocative of listening to the ideas, the suggestions that Dr. Manmohan Singh had for them, and I think they were reflected upon, and that's the best or a big plus that somebody can take back with them. When you come with ideas, when the opposition makes a point or a suggestion, if it's valid, the government is ready to listen. I think this government was open to the idea of always listening to Dr. Manmohan Singh when he was a member of the Rajya Sabha. The inputs that he brought, the suggestions that he gave were pondered upon and also, being incorporated. And I think that was something that was that Dr. Manmohan Singh had managed to achieve with his, unstoppable work that he did in the finance ministry, the economic reforms that he brought about, the economic transformation, the liberalization, the privatization and globalization efforts that he brought about then. and reflective with the welfare guarantee schemes that were launched in his tenure. So he had seen the both sides of the coin. I think that's where the government too was very reciprocative and open to the idea of listening to a man of such vast experience.
Anil, also some of his policies have come to define what modern India is. There were moments when the former PM defended himself when he was labelled as a silent Prime Minister too.
Well, yes, that's a crucial juncture in his career when, he was time and again being rather, asked those questions and being asked to react on those questions. This was another salient feature that you would see where, being open to criticism and also being ready to listen is something that many economists have praised Dr. Manmohan Singh, in his tenure. You meet any RBI governor, the ones that have followed Dr. Manmohan Singh, even economists like Raghuram Rajan, who have said that being patient, being able to listen and being able to see light at the end of the day, when the situation seems murky and you have no way to go, Dr. Manmohan Singh had that trait of understanding what exactly the problem was and how to find a solution to it through some kind of economics that he could manage. And I think that helps Dr. Manmohan Singh, his legacy, and the social welfare schemes that were launched, especially in his tenure as the Prime Minister of India, reflects on that particular mood, when it comes to doing things that benefit the common man, which was the larger idea, the larger vision that Dr. Manmohan Singh had.
All right, I'm also joined by my colleague Mark Lynn. Mark, how do you want to remember Dr. Manmohan Singh?
Well, Abhishek, as I was saying a little earlier, but we got cut off, the legacy of Dr. Manmohan Singh is huge because we have to look at his coming from humble origins in a sense and the targets he set for himself as an individual, and he achieved them all in terms of, reaching the pinnacle of his education, getting degrees from Cambridge and Oxford, which were most sought after at that time, in a field of economics, which, had the brightest minds in the world at the time. And he also established himself as a noted economist across the world, one must remember. And he utilized all that he studied in terms of bringing it to the country, helping first as a technocrat with his ideas and he spoke truth to power. He was able to tell the government that they were on the wrong track at the time, and held several positions in the Ministry of Commerce and in the Ministry of Finance, and then was the RBI governor, also the deputy chairman of the Planning Commission. So almost every single economic position that the government of India has, he held, and then he was the finance minister at a crucial time when we look at that legacy. A crucial time because the world was going through change. The Soviet Union was collapsing. India had been dependent on the Soviet Union in many respects. India was following a model of state-run institutions and industry. The public sector was playing a very significant role. And he brought in a policy of liberalization, unleashed the power of the private sector, privatization. He brought down taxes. He encouraged enterprise, and in a sense that liberalization brought in choice for the consumers, brought in competition, and the economy began to see green shoots. It started taking off, and India, which was on the verge of a debt trap at that point of time, recovered to develop rapidly, the growth momentum picked up, and reached 9 to 10% growth at one point of time, which was significant, propelling millions of people out of poverty and taking our country forward. So one has to look back and see that whatever he brought in terms of his economic thinking, he tried to bring it into practice. He applied it, and one must remember that. But then later on, when he became Prime Minister, he was once again asked to perform the similar task with the global economy, because there was the 2008 financial crisis, and Dr. Manmohan Singh was actually the only leader of the world who was a head of government who actually understood economics at that point of time. And he advised the G20 countries various measures that needed to be taken to stabilize the economy. And that was the time, in fact, when Obama later said that when Dr. Manmohan Singh speaks, the world listens. But a little earlier than that, there was the Eurozone crisis when Dr. Manmohan Singh was the Prime Minister of India. And during the Eurozone crisis, the problem was that those countries that were using the euro did not have a fiscal union. They had a monetary union without a fiscal union. And that created a problem for, the way prices differed in different parts of those countries that used the euro. And he pointed that out, and he again advised those countries certain things. So as a result of that, it was very clear that Dr. Manmohan Singh made significant contributions both at the international level as well as the country level in terms of the economy. There are other areas as well.
And also, Mark, what is the process that is followed when the state funeral is given? If you could tell us in detail, what is the process that is followed? Yeah.
So as we can see, there's a lot of protocol involved. We can see that foreign dignitaries are invited, and we see that the King of Bhutan has arrived. There is a foreign dignitary also from Mauritius. The foreign minister has arrived. And the protocol as per the government of India standing, the president will be the main person, followed by the vice president, the foreign dignitaries, and then the prime minister and his council of ministers, his cabinet ministers, and will all be seated. The leader of the opposition, who has a cabinet rank as well, will also be there. And then there is, apart from that, in the other rows, there would be chief ministers of states who would be willing to participate. Then there is, of course, the chiefs of the armed forces who are in attendance, because it is a state funeral, and they represent, in a sense, the security apparatus of the country. They bring that element of, of stature to the funeral, that this was a man of the state. And so we can see that the chiefs of staff are all there. General Chauhan, led by the other chiefs, are all there. And after that, after due process, when we saw that they all came out and placed their rites in order of precedence, finally the last rites are being performed. We can see a Granthi from the Sikh community performing the last prayers. And in attendance are the close family members and relatives who are, paying their last respects to the body, the mortal remains of the former Prime Minister, after which he will be consigned to flames.
And also, Mark, condolences pour in from across the world, from Angela Merkel to Barack Obama, French President also Emmanuel Macron, Antony Blinken. Obama called him the man of uncommon wisdom and decency. Blinken said that he was one of the greatest champions of India-US strategic partnerships.
Right.
Do you think his tenure as PM also see a turning point in India's foreign policy?
Certainly, one can see that, I think as Prime Minister, the foreign policy mattered a great deal because he focused largely on that, allowed the other ministers to take charge of their various ministries. And it so happened that India was already taking the next steps towards a strategic partnership with the United States, which had already taken it was a strategic partnership with the US. But clearly it took a huge step forward under Dr. Manmohan Singh, at the initiative of the Americans, one must add, because it was President Bush who initiated the US nuclear deal. It happened here in Delhi in 2005 when President Bush came here and they met on the lawns of Hyderabad House. And, it was quite unusual that the announcement of India ending its nuclear apartheid, coming out of all those restrictive regimes that prevented India from developing civil nuclear energy. India was now a growing country needing energy. And as a result of that, the civil nuclear deal was looking like huge promise towards India providing with its energy requirements. But apart from that, it also provided India a place on the global high table, as one calls it now, where it began to express its voice, be heard as a major growing global power, a regional power in the security dynamics of things. And India, of course, under the tenure of Dr. Manmohan Singh also had developed BRICS. BRICS was also a concept that came about from outside, but it was taken up by India along with the other BRICS countries. And this formation, as we know, has certainly grown in its importance in regional politics. And we can see that now it is BRICS Plus. So it is influencing a multipolar world. India clearly, at that point of time, was probably being wooed by many analysts would have said it was to counter the rise of China. But India was developing its own, and Dr. Manmohan Singh was trying very hard as well to make good relations with China. In fact, he had told the Chinese, right, he told them clearly that there is enough space for both India and China to grow. There is no need, for that kind of conflict in terms of a competition. And we can see that there was an attempt clearly to see that the paths of progress could converge rather than diverge amongst the two Asian giants. It was, after all, called the Asian century. And the Chinese leadership of that time, the Prime Minister was Wen Jiabao. He also respected Dr. Manmohan Singh. And when Dr. Manmohan Singh was demitting office, as we know, towards 2014, he actually made one of his last trips to China, and that was when Xi Jinping had taken office, and his government too had spoken highly of the respect that Dr. Manmohan Singh had, because of the attempt he made to build a closer friendship, or to build a workable friendship with the Chinese. And there was a lot of dialogue that took place on the border during the tenure of the UPA at that time. The SRs were meeting regularly. So there were attempts on the Chinese front. Even with Pakistan, there was attempts, but we clearly saw that 2611 took place under the UPA. A big black, you can't trust the Pakistanis, as the UPA government found out and Dr. Manmohan Singh found out. And since then, of course, the relations with Pakistan have deteriorated significantly. But Dr. Manmohan Singh had also attempted to try and mend relations with Pakistan. So in a sense, and we can see that the king of Bhutan is present at his funeral. Bhutan, of course, being a long, close friend of India, a neighbor. And it's only fitting that they are here for his funeral. So in terms of foreign relations, yes, right.
पंडित जी इसको पीछे करके लाओ बोरी पीछे कर
पूरे राजकीय सम्मान के साथ निगमबोध घाट.
So clearly this is the Nigambodh Ghat solemn moment where the flames have been lit, consigning the mortal remains of former Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh to flames. A moment where the nation remembers, led by Prime Minister Narendra Modi, walking out of the premises at this time. The Nigambodh Ghat, of course, is a significant location. It's located on the banks of the Yamuna River, and it is a place that for centuries has been a place of meant for funerals in this sense. Dating back to ancient times, it holds a sacred space in that respect. We can see various leaders, political leaders, both from the treasury and the opposition, talking to one another, and
All right, and as they say, the soil that gave me identity will merge into the 5 elements, and his passing away, Dr. Manmohan Singh's passing away, is a significant loss to Indian politics and economics.
Right. But he lived a good life.
Yeah.
That's what we should remember. A man who lived his full life till the age of 92 and has done his bit for our country.
All right, we'll leave it at that. Thank you for watching DD India News Hour. Namaskar.
2024, the year the world woke up